Did y'all miss me? Welcome in, and we are sitting courtside with Karli Bell. Yo, I take 2 weeks off because I have people getting married. I have friends of mine getting married. I'm a maid of honor. I got all this stuff to do. And then the WNBA in Chicago just decides to have a moment and explode. Before we get into it, I want to also discuss a couple things here. I know I said I'd take this into the WNBA playoffs, and I still might. We're in a TBD right now because there's some personal things going on, and I need to deal with what I got to deal with personally. I will be doing a podcast next week because we did not get to 3 exit interviews on Friday. Those 3 exit interviews being Courtney Vandersloot, Ariel Atkins, and Angel Reese, because they had prior commitments. So those will most likely be the week that I'm putting this out. So we will I'll put out another one next week, dissecting what Ariel, Angel, and Sloot will say in response to a lot of things that we heard during this exit interview. So that will happen. Beyond that, I don't know. I need to get some personal things in order. I need to get some things situated. So let's backtrack what the last 2 weeks of the season have been. So Angel Reese had an interview with Julia Poe of the Chicago Tribune. Let's read the quotes together, shall we? This interview took the internet and the WNBA space by storm because of what Angel said. There are a lot of things in here that Angel said that are very good points. And then there are other things that I have questions on. Here were some of the main quotes in this article. I'm not settling for the same we did this year. We have to get good players. We have to get great players. That's a non-negotiable for me. I'm willing and wanting to play with the best. And however I can help to get the best here, that's what I'm going to do this offseason. So it's going to be very, very important this offseason to make sure we attract the best of the best because we can't settle for what we have this year. Okay? I'm very vocal about what we need and what I want. I'd like to be here for my career, but if things don't pan out, obviously I might have to move in a different direction and do what's best for me. But while I am here, I'm going to try and stay open-minded about what I have here and maximize that as much as I can. I think we all know what that is in reference to. Other quote. Watching Golden State, no offense, but I don't think they're more talented than us on paper. But they play hard as hell. So starting at the top, we've got to find an identity of what we're going to be next year and then roll with the punches of what we can get. Another quote. We can't rely on Courtney to come back at the age she's at. I know she'll be a great asset for us, but we can't rely on that. We need someone probably a little younger with some experience, somebody who's been playing the game and is willing to compete for a championship and has done it before. Last quote. We need great players, and I don't know what will attract that. Maybe the practice facility will attract that. We'll see. But the priority is being able to convince free agents that this is an organization that is going in the right direction. Honestly, it would be a leap of faith for a great, great player to come here and show that this is something that they want to be a part of, and we can bring that championship mentality. For those who haven't, I wrote a whole response to this on the website, which is courtsidewithkarlibell.com. And I wrote an opinion piece on it because I have 2 problems with this article. 2. That's it. One is the timing of it. While I understand the frustration from Angel, I do. Someone who's around the franchise a lot, I understand the frustration. The timing of this to do this with, this was, I think, only 4 or 5 games left in an already lost season. I was like, you can wait until exit interviews to let this rip. I understand she could be feeling a level of frustration and it just came out. That's not what I'm criticizing. But when I sit there, this is where Angel's youth shows. People forget that she's only like 22, 23. And this is where your 23-year-oldness is showing. Because a vet that's got 10 plus years experience in the league would have saved this like literally 4 more days. That was it. 4 more days. That's all they needed. And it would have been fine. That's my first issue. Second issue was naming a player. Going out of your way and naming a specific player. It's like, from a teammate perspective, that's just not the best move. It's not. And of all players to go after, you go after Vandersloot, who's beloved here in Chicago. However, did she say anything that was wrong? In my opinion, no. And I wrote about this. Angel is echoing what many former players that have played for the organization have said already. Elena Deladon, Sylvia Fowles, Kalia Copper, Gabby Williams, Candace Parker. I could go on and on and on. A current player in Courtney Vandersloot has echoed what this franchise has started with and really hasn't grown from. So Did she say anything wrong? No. My issue is the timing. You can wait literally 4 more days. Like, no joke. 4 more days. 4 days. And this probably would have been received a lot differently. And then I will say this, like, I'm going to say this completely. I was in the press room when she, like, the day this dropped of that Connecticut game. And she made a very, very, very empathetic public apology addressing it all. And it felt real. It did. It felt very real. And it didn't feel like it was something that she pre-planned, something that was any of that. Didn't feel like any of that. Felt very real. It was a very real apology. The organization goes a step further in saying, not only did you apologize to the public and you did it in a post-game press conference and you did it to the press and you talked about this with your teammates and we've talked about this in-house and we've settled everything in-house and that's where it should have been left. No, you go and put out a statement. And if you have an issue with what she said, like as an organization, that's fine. You can have an issue with it. Because guess what? She's called, if you put this in a business perspective, so don't look at it from a basketball, let's put this as a business. She is an employee, the Sky or the employer. She came after her employer. And that is going to lead to a ramification of some sort that is going to happen. Does there need to be a public statement about said like reaction? No. That's my issue. The statement did not need to be published. That's not the best move on the organization's part. It just wasn't. It was a really bad move on the organization's part. You could have suspended her the half game. You could have done all of that. You absolutely could have. And guess what? You could have just not put a statement out. You could have done what you wanted and not put a statement out. Putting the statement out was the problem. That's the issue. That's the whole ever-loving issue here, is the organization has every right to feel angry that their player called them out. As like from a business perspective, that like it's in their eyes, it's insubordination. And there is going to be ramifications. You came after us and we are your boss. So we're going to punish you for it. They have every right to do that. But to go make a statement about it, like, what are you doing? That's my whole issue. Like, this team this year, and I said it at the beginning, and you can quote me. You can quote me. I said it at the beginning that on paper, this was a team that was going to make the playoffs. On paper, this was a playoff caliber team. Were they going to be a top 4 team? No. But they could have landed 6, 7, 8. Injuries happened. And on top of that, you have a brand new head coach. You also have chemistry settling. And you could feel the frustration the moment Sloot went down. The moment Sloot went down, the season was over. And that's what nobody wants to talk about. They're like, well, Sloot didn't play well in those 7 games. Guys, we need to talk about sample size here for a second. You have a brand new team playing together for the very first time in 2 weeks of training camp. And I am somebody that when I evaluate a team, I don't really look at the first 5 games because those first 5 games, chemistry and kinks still being worked out. And when you have a new head coach, it's still adjusting to a system. It's still adjusting to new roles. That's important. That takes time from an offensive standpoint. From a defensive standpoint, that can take upwards of 10 games to settle in, find your defensive identity. Fluke got injured 7 games in. For me to evaluate what a team looked like on just 7 games at the very beginning of the season, you can't. But if you go back, you saw the progress that was slowly but surely being made in games 5 and 6. You saw it kind of coming together. They still had issues. Like the turnovers have been the number one issue all season. And I wish I could give you a reason as to why the turnovers have been an issue. I genuinely don't know. And I apologize already. I'm dealing with really bad allergies. I have fall allergies. They get really bad. So if I sound a little different than normal, that's why. This was a team that needed some time together to play. And then you lose the identity of the team and your leader of the team and someone who's literally been a part of the Sky franchise longer than anybody else on that team, and Courtney Vandersloot. She knows all of the hell that the organization has put her through. She's talked about it. She talked about it at training camp, saying that when she originally played here, their ice baths were garbage cans that were filled bucket by bucket with ice and cold water. Okay? She's somebody who knows how far the org has come and how much farther they need to go. So you want that type of leadership in a locker room. When that leadership goes down, your season, and I spoke about it when she went down, it was a funeral. The season's funeral was had at the United Center on June 7th. The season was over. It was done. It was completely over. They had their moments. They had a couple moments here. They had a couple moments here. They had a couple moments here. But, and this is where roster construction comes in, when you don't have a backup point guard to play behind Vandersloot, that can lead to issues. And general manager Jeff Pagliacca spoke about it in the exit interview.
Yeah, it's a great question. It's always a thought. It's always big parts of our discussions is if someone gets hurt, if someone gets in foul trouble, who's next and who's up. And I think that was a big part of the Mariah Jefferson trade a year ago. And unfortunately, with her injuries, she wasn't able to come in and be the player that she had been in this league for so long. But yeah, there's a number of situations, where we felt that, we could have been and should have been stronger. And so again, with roster construction, you always need to know in the worst case scenario. And again, these are more data points that we'll take into 2026 when we're building the roster.
He knew. He realized it. And you don't ever plan for injuries. You should plan for injuries. But when you were looking at what the Sky lacked last year, which was shooters, you wanted to have more shooters than point guards, which I get. But it was illuminated that they didn't have a leader out there on the floor. Rachel Banham did an excellent job for the time being that she took it over. Ariel Atkins is not a point guard. That's not what she should be doing. Haley Van Lith is a rookie. You got to give her grace. She's a rookie. She's a rookie. She just ended her rookie season. She deserves a lot of grace. You know the grace that y'all were giving all the rookies last year? Just saying. Same grace needs to be provided. Doesn't matter who they are. They're a rookie. It's their first year in the league. And they only got 2 weeks to adjust to it. Gotta give them some grace. So they realized it. They didn't have a leader. So then Jeff goes out and gets Sevgi Uzun, who I know everyone was like, Karli, you hyped her up. I'm like, no. I told y'all what she was going to bring, which she was not going to be the big scorer. That's not what she was brought here to do. She was brought here to just get the Sky into sets. That was it. Have a couple assists, maybe a couple steals, put up 2-4 points when necessary. But she was not brought here to be a scorer. That's not what she was brought here to do. She said it to me. That's not what she was brought here to do. She was brought here to bring a little bit of organization near the end of the season. And to be frank, she's somebody that a lot of teams wanted back in June. But she told the W she wanted to have some time off and relax and have a moment, because she's been playing basketball for so long. She wanted to give her body a break. And who's the team that she chose? She chose the Chicago Sky, which should say a lot. Should say a little bit about what Jeff and Tyler are building here. And everyone wants to look towards next year to free agency. So let's listen to what the Sky's pitch is on free agency.
We have good people here. We have really good people here. And I think that pretty soon there's going to be every organization is going to be able to provide some sort of amenity, whether it's in the frame of a practice facility or what. It's going to get to a point, this league is going to get to a point which the players rightfully deserve. It being, I think that once those pieces are put in place, then it's about what do the people provide? How can you relate to the people? What kind of experience are the people providing? And I think that for us, whether it's our staff or whether it's the players that we have in here, our players work extremely hard. There's an understanding there that work ethic is a huge piece to who we want to be as well, but also they enjoy being around each other. And I've said that time and time again throughout the year. And again, it's hard to see that in the midst of what this season has been on the court. But I think that we're as cohesive as can be, given a 9-30 record or whatever it is.
I asked a follow-up question to Tyler Marsh about the pitch to free agency, about whether or not just pitching that you have good people is enough, because the Sky this year were voted the worst run organization by players in an athletic poll, an anonymous player athletic poll. I've talked about a lot of the former players that have just absolutely dunked on the Sky organization. So I sat there and I'm like, do you believe that this is a strong enough pitch that people are going to want to play here? And his answer was, I don't know, which is a very honest answer. And you know what? I respect that. It's a very honest answer because you don't know. Because here's the issue. Do the players need to play better? Yeah. Is Tyler Marsh the one creating the system? Yes. Is Jeff Pagliacca the one building the roster? Yes. But are there limits to who he can bring on the roster because of the reputation of the organization? Also, yes. Many things can be true. And this is where you need to start asking questions on whether or not what ownership is going to do and whether or not they feel confident, players feel confident, Jeff feels confident, and whether or not this organization is going to invest in the future. And here's what they had to say.
Yeah, I think the trends are changing fast, and I think I've personally seen a lot of new resources since I started working here a year ago in this role. Um, I think they care. I sit in the meetings. They're very deliberate with the things they would like to do. I think the practice facility, is showing a lot about an investment, but I also see a lot of day-to-day things that matter and that players deserve to have. And I make it a point, to push for the things that the players need, that conduit, between them and ownership. And I don't get told no very often. And I think resources this year are clearly evolved from what I've seen in the past, and I think what was available to them in the past. So I'd like to think we absolutely have the support from ownership, and the investment will be there moving forwards.
Guess what? This offseason, you have 100 plus free agents. Nobody knows any of the rules for the expansion draft. Nobody. Because the league hasn't announced it yet. You want to know why? Because the CBA negotiations are still going on. The CBA negotiation deadline for the current contract of this current CBA, it expires October 31st. When I've asked many players about it, including the secretary of the WNBA PA, who's on the Sky, and Elizabeth Williams, she goes, they're going to need to add an extension. And I think everyone kind of knew that extension is going to come. What's that extension going to be like? It could be 30 or 60 days. Based on precedent, it's normally been 60 days. Could do 90 days. I don't think that would be the best option from a player perspective, from a league perspective. That's what you want. That's why I think 60 days is going to be a good middle ground, because in that 60-day period, you can do two things. You can get the expansion draft done, and you can get a lot of negotiating done during that 60-day period. For people who are like, who are the Sky are going to protect? I don't even know how many players they're allowed to protect. I don't know if it's only 6. I don't know if it's only going to be 4 because there's 2 teams added. No, I don't know. I don't know. And the Sky are one of the teams that's in a predicament because they only have technically 4 that are on contract, 6 that they have rights to. The 4 on contract are Angel Reese, Camila Cardoso, Haley Van Lith, and Maddie Westbeld. The other 2 are Aisha Sioko, who is the number 7 pick. That's how y'all need to understand how to say her name. Sioka. I know it looks like Sivka, but how you say it is Sioka. For everyone out there. And then you have Aisha Coulibaly. Sioka's been overseas playing in Eurobasket. Coulibaly's been recovering from an ACL injury at the end of her college season. She was actually at a Sky game. Saw her at a home game, which, my humble opinion, means that she's more than likely going to join the team next year. So you have a core of 6. And when asked whether or not they're going to continue that win now mentality that Jeff Pagliacca preached at the beginning of the season that ended up not going anywhere, they said, yeah, it's not going away. Do I agree with that as a reporter? I don't know. I understand why. I get it, because that's what your mentality should always be. But at some point, and I think this is going to be a really big wake-up call to the ownership group this offseason, is when you look at the free agents that you can bring in. Because Tyler Marsh is somebody that I've talked to several players across the league, and his old coaching staff and his current players now. He is very, very well liked here in the league. There are a lot of players that want to play for Tyler Marsh. They thoroughly enjoy having him as a head coach. I think he is a coach who did the best he could in his first season. I also believe he was limited in the roster that he was able to build because of the players that were available in free agency and who weren't and what they were able to make a trade for. So I think he was limited in what he can do. I think if you give him a different roster, it might be very different. That's my grace I'm going to give to a rookie head coach. Just how I give them to rookie players, I give them to rookie head coaches. But if they can't get a superstar name this free agency, and that superstar name is not Courtney Vandersloot, because Jeff Pagliacca said in his exit interview, if she's healthy, she's playing in Chicago. And I can tell you this right now. I had a gut feeling that Sloot was going to return to Chicago, whether or not, regardless of the situation. Because she is somebody, if there's any player that doesn't want their career to end the way that it ended, it's Vandersloot. She does not want to end her career on an injury. She wants to end it playing basketball, even if it's just for a year. I don't think they're going to sign Vandersloot to anything longer than a single year contract to give her the ability to say she retired as a Sky. She played her final minutes as a Sky. I also don't think she's going to be playing the 30 plus minutes that we saw at the beginning of the season, because Jeff Pagliacca said that they're not going to see that. She shouldn't have been doing it in the first place, but I think it was very much illuminated here. And I know everyone is like, he said everything Angel said. And if you also remember that Angel said, it's not the message, it's the messenger. I'm just going to say it. Do you ever think that Jeff wasn't the problem? Do you ever think that, he's doing the best he can with the resources that he has, which are very limited? Do you ever think that it's not Jeff, that it's above him? Do you ever think that it's above him to make these final says? As a fan base, did you ever think about that? Because if you look across a lot of other sports, general managers do have a lot to say. So does ownership. Ownership has a say in things that happen. And this ownership group wants to have a lot of say. Because guess what? It's their team. They want to have a lot of say. Are they right sometimes in what they want to say? No. Are they wrong in what they want to say sometimes? Also no. Because guess what? People are human beings. If you think about it, you're like, why are all the players so happy about the front office? Yeah, because what they're trying to build around is that they have good people. Who are the people? That's Jeff, that's Tyler, that's Ann Crosby, that's Dave Simon, that's the coaching staff, that's all the support staff around them. That's what they're trying to sell, is that. And the city of Chicago sells itself. I'm sorry, it just does. Someone who's from here, raised here, and now I'm very happy to be back here. This city sells itself. So what's the problem? The practice facility has always been an issue. And they're saying it's going to get done by April. We'll see if that happens. We'll see. Because it was originally supposed to be done by December, and now it's not going to be done until April. So we'll see. But the practice facility gets done. So then you have the practice facility. So if you now have, as a team, a coach that people want to play for, support staff that's praised, a general manager that has been said by many, many people, former players included, that looks out for the person, and a practice facility to give them the resources that they need, why else would a player not come here? Do you ever think it might be ownership? I'm really just trying to illuminate some things for y'all, because Jeff and Tyler did make mistakes. Yes. And Jeff took huge risks in trading away the number 3 pick for Ariel Atkins. And I said that when the trade happened. It's a risk. It's a huge risk. And only time will tell if it will pay off. You want to know what time showed? Didn't really pay off. But he took a risk. And if any year to take a risk, you do it in a year where you have tons of free agents to choose from. And they're like, well, he sold off the draft capital and all this stuff. Correct. But guess what? You can always get it back. That's the beauty of trades. That's the beauty of it all, is that you can always get it back. See how Jeff was able to get back all the draft capital that James Wade lost in the Marina Mabry trade? He can do it again. There might be some sign and trades happening. Who knows? This is a very interesting season. This is a very interesting year that we'll see. And I'm only going to comment so much because we still have 3 players to hear from, in Courtney Vandersloot, Ariel Atkins, and Angel Reese. And until I get the whole team, I'm going to really reserve my full recap. And I know people want me to answer the question, do I believe that Angel Reese will be back here next year? What Jeff Pagliacca said is, he goes, until I hear differently, she's going to return on the roster. Guess what? We haven't talked to Angel yet. So once we talk to Angel, then I'll answer that question. I'm not someone that just goes off of one person's statement. Sorry, it's just not me. I go off of the whole picture. So there's a lot here. And I'm going to say this. I delve more into this on our website at courtsidewithkarlibell.com, where I have my full season recap posted the day that this comes out. So go ahead and give it a read if you want to look at it from a numbers standpoint and look at what happened from a statistical standpoint, analytical standpoint, and also hear some other quotes that are not here in the podcast. And I will also be having other comments and other things coming next week once we hear from Sloot, Angel, and Ariel. So this is all I got for right now. So we'll see what happens moving forward. And I will also let you guys know what I decide to do moving forward with this podcast after next week. And I will let you know next week. But before we continue, I'm really going to talk for a little bit more. Make sure you follow us on all platforms. That's Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky at Courtside KB. And I'm also going to say this. I may have reactivated my own TikTok account. Might be having some other Chicago sports updates coming here soon. So go ahead and give me a follow on all platforms at Karli Bell 33. Let's get into the playoffs, shall we? I just want to get into the seeding. I'm going to give rapid fire who I think is going to win in the series matchups. So let's take a look here. And then we're going to wrap this up. The official bracket, we're going to go first round only. You got Minnesota against Golden State. I think Minnesota takes that handedly. You have Phoenix against New York. I think Phoenix takes it, but it's going to go the whole way. I don't think it's going to be a sweep. You have Atlanta against the Fever. Atlanta's going to sweep them. And then you have Las Vegas against Seattle. That is going to be a better matchup than people anticipate. Remember, the first round is a best of 3, and then it's a best of 5, and then it's a best of 7. So in the best of 3, I think Minnesota, Golden State, I think it might go 3 games. I think Golden State might take 1 game away from them, but I think Minnesota is going to win it. I think Atlanta is going to sweep the Fever, and I believe that Las Vegas is going to win in 3 against Seattle. If we want to go further into that, let's just do early projection. You want to do early projection? So then we're going to have Las Vegas against Atlanta. That is going to be interesting. I believe in a best of 5, I think it's going to go all 5. I'm going to take Vegas. And then I have Minnesota against Phoenix. I think it might also go all 5. Minnesota's a very good basketball team, but I would not be surprised if Phoenix knocks them off. Just saying. Would not be shocked if Phoenix knocks them off. I would not be surprised. That is going to be the best of the semifinals, is that matchup between Minnesota and Phoenix. But if I'm going to go with my gut, I think it's really possible that we could get a Phoenix-Las Vegas championship. Sorry, I said it. But I don't know. I think it's possible. I think it's more possible than people are understanding. But you know what? If I'm going to go realistic, my gut really believes that Phoenix is going to do it. But I think realistically, Minnesota, it's going to be Minnesota, Vegas. And I think Vegas may shock the world and take the ship. That's what my gut's telling me. But if I'm going off of numbers and I'm going off of analytics and I'm going off of what I watched this year, Minnesota's winning the ship. But I think the matchup that we're going to get in the finals from a number standpoint is going to be Minnesota, Vegas. But I would not be surprised if Phoenix knocks off Minnesota. I'm just going to say it now. I would not be shocked. Just saying. I would not be surprised at all. But in the comments, please let me know who you guys have as your championship matchup. That's all I have here on this week's long episode of Courtside with Karli Bell. Make sure, again, you follow us on all platforms at Courtside KB. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. I'm also on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Amazon. Is that called Amazon Radio? Amazon Music, wherever you get podcasts there. And then follow me on Twitter at Karli Bell 33, where I'm going to have some other updates about Chicago sports in general and also talk about some more college basketball stuff there. But then we'll have another episode next week recapping the last 3 exit interviews and giving my full thoughts on what the offseason and everything could look like moving forward. But that's all I have this week. Hope you guys miss me, and I'll catch you next time on the sidelines.